Lawmakers are looking at a constitutional amendment that it would change the way the state's top accountant is put into office. It comes after the Comptroller General said there was a $3.5 billion accounting error. We've been covering it for you right here on Fox Carolina. Our Zach Proletsky explains how the error was made and what a local CPA says it could mean for the future.
Well, Tori, Richard Ekstrom is the South Carolina Comptroller General, and he says the error started more than 10 years ago. It was only discovered last year and wasn't made public until February. For more than a decade, the state double-counted money transferred to colleges and universities. Ekstrom says the issue started when the state changed accounting systems that created confusion about how to report those funds, and that error eventually compounded. Now, Montgomery & Company CPA's advisor Sheila Morgan says more than anything, the error makes South Carolina look incompetent. We asked Morgan what real-life impacts this error will have.
The main risk is the credit rating agencies. If they decided to downgrade the state's credit rating, it could increase the borrowing costs to the state. But as far as a direct impact on taxpayers, no.
Now, there's no word right now if the state's credit rating will be impacted by the error. And today, lawmakers were discussing looking at a constitutional amendment that would change the way the state's top accountant, Richard Ekstrom, the Comptroller General, is put into office, changing it from an elected position to one appointed by the governor. For now, reporting, Zach Proletsky, Fox Carolina News.